Yep.
You guys ready up there at the camera? Yep. All right, we'll start with questions then.
So me looking facial there, changing things up.
Well, Mike, first of all, just kind of not these games. So Brett Rippon, you got to go see him play. Was it the first time you've seen him play in person?
In a game, yes.
Okay.
In a game, yes. In a camp environment, about 3 years running. From the time at Stanford and also having him at summer camp. So yeah, I had a chance to see him. But you get to see so much more when you go see somebody play live, and it was a great opportunity for Coach Harsin and myself to get up there, and positive trip, and our whole staff got to scour the Western United States and a little bit, and all over the country for that matter. So it was really good.
What made him the guy you guys wanted in this class?
I think the biggest thing is just the guy he's a quarterback. He's been well trained. He's got obviously great lineage. He's the guy who just lives and breathes football. In addition to being a great student, a 4.0 student, and I'm really excited about the chance to work with him. He's got a lot of tools, a lot of ability, good intellect, good instincts. I got to see that firsthand, I'm excited about the opportunity to work with some of those tools, and just like anybody else that comes in as a freshman, I mean, he's going to have a pretty steep learning curve, but that's why it's going to be great for him to come up in the spring.
It's become almost the norm now for the quarterback to come in January, but how important is that to get those guys in early?
It's interesting. I've had at different times throughout the course of the last few years, I've had different opinions on it. Now that I have a chance to do it with a kid like Brett that's very mature, I think that it is a very good situation for him. I think some kids aren't ready for it. That's why I think that when you look back at a lot of these kids that have come in, these quarterbacks and other positions for that matter that come in mid-year, they're maybe not quite ready for it, just for making that transition to college when all their classmates are still thinking about senior prom and thinking about finals and thinking about basketball and baseball season. But he's a pretty unique kid because of his maturity, his just how solid of an academic, how solid he is academically. So I think it's gonna work out really well. And spring, the development in spring of quarterbacks, I think, is really important. It's the opportunity where you have to truly slow down and teach and not really worried necessarily yet about that byproduct, that end product, but you're more worried about the process and have a chance to really work through that process. And even our off-season time before we truly start spring ball, it can be very important for those guys.
Coming off probably your guys' best execution offensively against Nevada, how do you carry that through the bye week and into the second half of the season?
One thing I was very encouraged by was just the work that we got in during the bye week, just to piggyback off some of the stuff that we did well, against Nevada on the road. But for us to just get back to, there were some things that even in the Nevada game that led to that being a close game. I'm thinking really in all three phases, not just on offense, but strictly from an offensive standpoint. We got to just carry the football better, and I think just do a better job at the quarterback position of being stingy with the football, and that was a big emphasis. It's something that you can talk about. You can say let's be more, let's be a better decision maker. But then you have a chance to go out and recreate drills of stuff that's happened in games. And we did that quite a bit in the bye week and with the quarterback position. Did a ton of ball security work with our whole, basically everybody on our football team that could potentially carry the football. Got at least 10 minutes of ball security in each one of those practices, which was invaluable. It's about as important for this football team's success as we can find.
Matt Miller, Coach Harsin said that he's an incredible healer. He phrased that he's out for the season. So, what has Matt Miller meant to this program? What have you, in your time in the program, what have you taken from Matt Miller as more than a football player, as a person? Obviously, how hard is it to see him go down like this?
Matt Miller's one of the toughest human beings I've ever been around this game. I think this whole year, including spring ball, including fall camp, and including the first 5 games that he was in for, I think he was playing. And he would never say anything about it, but I think he was playing well below, 100%. In terms of being healthy. I just think it was just had some nagging, injuries that were going on, and obviously when they had a chance to really go in and look at everything after he did sustain, his lower leg injury. It was a pretty significant injury, and I think he's just a tough son of a gun. I've been very impressed with him in every way, just his leadership, his toughness, he's kind of what you want in terms of a blue-collar leader that just leads by example. And I think for him, just even how he's responded to it in the last, the last week or so, and just the injury that he had. And, he's out there coaching guys. He's out there encouraging guys. He's he and I have really good conversations about just the big picture, about the offense and our team. And I really like what Matt has brought to this program. He's a man, and I think for our younger players to see the way he, conducts himself and carries himself around our team has been really important for our program.
How close he was to the school career receiving yards mark? How big of a disappointment is it to not be able to get that?
I think it's more of a disappointment to us probably on the staff than it is to him. I mean, he truly, and this isn't lip service, it's not for him trying to get, any media attention or anything like that. I mean, he truly didn't care about that record or any record for that matter. I think he wants to win. He wants this program to win. He wants to be a part of a winning program. He wants to be a part of, that goal that's up there, winning a Mountain West Conference championship in a bowl game. And that's I think, to him, the most important thing. And he cares a lot about these guys, cares about his teammates, and, the individual accolades for him mean nothing. I think for him, I think for him, it was good for him to find out exactly what's going on with his ankle and his lower leg, his foot, and all that, and to get the answers. But I'll tell you, the thing I've been most impressed with about him is A, his toughness, and B, just how he's responded in the face of adversity.
You mentioned just his Grant. After the game, you mentioned Grant. You went through his progressions. Grant even said a little bit ago, and I know that you said with Matt being a little less than 100% lately, that maybe you guys have kind of been preparing yourselves for this sort of thing. And how have you seen Grant evolve without Matt being in there, and how much in a weird way is that kind of helping?
Well, and it's funny, the strange way about it that came about is actually talking to Matt. Matt's like, Matt and I had a really good conversation about it. He's like, I know Nine has a really good comfort level with me. And the thing is, it's not like Grant is just locking in. The whole year wasn't locking in on Matt and just throwing it to Matt. I mean, that's clearly not what was going on. But within our progressions, there are times where you have the ability to pre-snap a look and say, that could be a good look, to be able to throw to that receiver. And it might be a singled up receiver and dictated by coverage. And I think a lot of those looks were actually good to throw to Matt, but maybe not the most ideal look, where somewhere else in the progression might have been a more ideal look. So I think those kind of situations are where you see Grant to now be able to just look at it purely, from a distributor standpoint and be able to get the football where he needs to get it, and he obviously had a great comfort level with Matt, because Matt's one of the best receivers in the history of this program and one of the best in this conference for that matter. And, I had a pretty good comfort level with Matt out there as well. So, but I do think it's helped him. And really, honestly, when Finley went in there against Air Force, obviously sans Matt, Matt's not in there. You got to see Finley kind of spread the ball around a little bit. And I think it was good for some of those other guys to have a chance to make plays, and for Grant to be able to watch that and see how that manifested itself. In those guys making plays, that Thomas Spurbeck's, a guy like that just emerging in that game. I think that paid big dividends for our program going into the Nevada game.
Do you see an expanding role for McNichols?
Yes. He's earned the right, obviously, with his game day performance, to get touches. Now, how many touches and what those look like, that's where the fun comes in as a coach. That we have a chance to be creative with how we use him. I think he's shown the ability to do some stuff out of the backfield. Shown the ability to do some stuff lined up as a receiver. So that's exciting stuff. And we wanted to make it worth his while. If we're going to play a freshman, that really mid-season, before mid-season for that matter. We wanted to make it worth his while. We had that conversation with him, had that conversation with his family, and so we're gonna, it was worthwhile in the Nevada game, and it'll continue to expand as you go. Now we're not going to overburden him and put the entire game plan on him, and we want him to go out and do the same thing he did against Nevada, and that's play without thinking too much and play fast.
How does that conversation go with, like, you meet with him and meet with his parents? 5 games are already in the books. He has a redshirt year. How do you, I don't want to say convince him, how do you come to the rationalization to play?
Well, I mean, I think at the end of the day, I think all freshmen want to play. Yeah. I think at some point they want to play, and a lot of guys that you determine are not going to redshirt even at the beginning of the year, they might not have a significant role at the beginning of the year, and they might only play 5 to 10 snaps a game anyway. So, I mean, him coming in and playing, 13, 15 snaps offensively, play some special team snaps, get over 5 touches. That's a good way to start off a freshman career. So I think it was definitely worthwhile for him. He was really excited to play. He was eager, anxious, and I think his family was very excited. Almost to the point that I think he might have told it might have became a family story and got out, and one of his cousins played for Nevada. So I don't know if they might have been ready for him to play too, but it was obviously a big moment for that family. We were really excited for Jeremy, and what a great family.
Can he be a traditional type of receiver, or is his receiver role more of that, get him the ball and let him do something with it?
I think he's got the ability to do both. And he's been trained, much as a receiver. He's been trained much as a tailback. He's been trained as a swing guy. I think his future is to be determined in terms of like where his permanent home would be, after this year.
Is he similar to Shane in ways?
He's different. There's some things that are similar about him. He's just a good run after catch guy, but he's also a guy that you feel like can dot the I and play behind the quarterback and carry the rock a little bit too. So.
What does it do for you as an offensive coordinator? Talking with Riddle last week, he was saying that they he obviously likes his ability as a running back, but he also says that if you do split him out, then you have to you're not just going to put your worst defender on him or worst defensive back on him.
Yeah, it puts I think it puts the onus on us as coaches, myself and Coach Harsin and Coach Adams, Coach Riddle, all of us to think of creative ways to use him, try to create some mismatches, and then most importantly, the best way to teach it to him. Because at the end of the day, he's got to be the one to handle the different formations and understand the terminology and what that specifically means to him. So we've tried to customize some things for him to make it as feasible for him early on as he can, so he can go out and just play without reservation.
Halfway through the first season with this offense, how would you kind of evaluate what you gotten out of the guys and what you maybe want to see going forward here?
I think there's been some very good moments. There's been some moments where I think we have the ability to be very explosive and to do great things, and there's times where we got to get out of our own way. The old adage, you're never as good as you think you are, never as bad as you think you are. I think that couldn't be more true than the last 2 performances. And I talked to Grant about that. I said we just can't let our highs be too high and our lows be too low, and the truth's always going to lie somewhere in between. And I think that's the case. But overall, I'm pleased with the way the guys have picked it up. I'm pleased with the way that our front's trying to they're trying to be physical. Our backs are starting to run physically. And I think that's one thing that we have to be known for first and foremost is to be a physical offense. And I think we've shown that at times to be a very physical offense, and we got to continue that.
As you talked about, you guys kind of change week to week. How much of what you've got have you shown at this point, and how much do you still have in the bank?
There's a lot out there still, but the thing is we're always gonna do stuff that our guys have a comfort level with. We're never just gonna spring a brand new scheme on from week to week that's something completely foreign to what these guys have ever done, because it always comes down to the quarterback. The quarterback has to know and have a comfort level and feel like he's repped what we're calling in the passing game. And there's a lot of different ways that you can get to some stuff that are staples in your offense. So, but then there's stuff that we practice a lot in training camp and practice a lot in spring ball that we maybe even haven't called yet. So that's a good thing too. Those things are going to roll out here in the next few weeks.
The 2 games in 28 days, it gives you an opportunity to do some tweaking.
It does, and I think the tweaking's big, and then like I said, the fundamental work is probably as important, if not more important. Just us getting back to just each position coach, and myself included, with the quarterbacks, and just getting back to the footwork, getting back to blocking, hand placement, where our eyes are on every play, and just working our combinations in the front, and working our tracks as running backs, and becoming better perimeter blockers, becoming better route runners at receiver. And I think there's a lot of things that we've done during this bye week that have been very, very important, I think, for our guys in terms of getting back to the physical, fundamental part of the game. I think the scheme part, I think we have a good good amount of variety as it is, but getting back to the fundamental work, I think so dang important in these 28 days that we have to prepare for 2. A lot. That's a program. I grew up in Southern California, a majority of my time in Southern California. It's a powerhouse program, and like we say, I mean, our goal to win a Mountain West Conference championship and a bowl game, that's the program that's done it most recently, and that's who we're, we want to be where they were last year. And right now, as far as we're concerned, they are the Mountain West Conference champions. They've played really well at times, and they're extremely athletic. They have a lot of that's a very good-looking football team. And so for us to our mindset going into this game, we're playing the Mountain West Conference champions, period. And that's who we have to measure ourselves against. And that's what, hopefully that we'll have the best atmosphere we've had in Albertson Stadium, in Albertson Stadium history, which is only a 2-game history right now. But we'll have the best atmosphere we've ever had because we're playing a championship game.
Got time for 2 more, guys.
Ryan obviously didn't get in and play in the last game, but how have you tried to capitalize on the experience he got there to, build on what he brings to the table as your backup?
Yeah, I think for him now it's in practice, like this bye week, for example, is that we hold him to a higher standard now. I mean, we've seen what you can do now when you're playing. You see how close you've been to having to go in there and play and win a game for us. So now practice like that all the time. Show us that you're capable of that, and he does that. But I think for us is to be able to hold him to an extremely high standard now, because he's so close to playing. You got to see that firsthand, and because he's shown us he's done some good things.
What stands out to you about the Fresno State defense?
Just they're attacking, aggressive, very multiple in their fronts, very multiple in their pressures. Coach Tim DeRuta, I've had a chance to be around him in the conference here. My dad was the head coach of UNLV, and he was both at Nevada and at Air Force, and did an incredibly good job as a defensive coordinator. In fact, I remember going back and watching the Ohio U film when he got hired at Nevada. So we had an off-season project was to study Ohio U. So I've had a pretty good comfort level with what he's done over the years, and I know their defense coordinator, Nick Toth, as well, does a great job. And so they give you a lot to prepare for. I think both our offense and their defense, I think they're headaches to opposing coordinators in terms of the amount of volume that you have to see and prepare for.
All right, Jay, last.
With Jake Rowe, I know that you guys had a lot, wanted to involve the tight ends more coming into this season. Through 6 games, he has already more receiving yards than all the tight ends collective last year. Has he exceeded expectations in any way? And actually seeing what he's been able to do in the game versus, just talking about it.
I think that's been the best thing is to see him. He's a guy that's gone out consistently, and we've put him in positions to be successful, but he's gone out there and done it. That's one thing to do it in practice, one thing to do it in the spring game, but it's another thing to do it out there against Ole Miss in your first college football game. And I think that's been the best thing about him, and he's also shown the ability to be an extremely physical football player, which is great at that position because that position obviously is, if you can show the ability to block on the perimeter, in tight spaces and play in the phone booth, but then go out and become a pass catcher, I think it just makes you more valuable. And he's shown the ability to do that, and really that group for that matter. Now, I think that group's got more in them. I think they can be even better, and they've gotten better every single week. And we keep adding little wrinkles with those guys, and they've earned the right to get the ball thrown in that direction.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks.